Rams invade town to take on the Oilers. And hi, everybody. I'm Jim Nantz along with Randy Cross. We welcome you to Houston. And I know it's only the last weekend of September, only the 4th week of the season, but there's a sense of urgency in this game, Randy. Each team 1-2 coming into this one.
Well, naturally, it's the old one. Everybody wants to win, but for Chuck Knox and the Rams, they know they're in a rebuilding situation. They're a team that has to play to their tops of their abilities to beat a team like Houston. There's no panic in L.A. Houston, on the other hand, if they get off to a bad start, they are in serious, serious trouble. They've got lots of distractions. They can't go 1-3. There's Buddy Ryan. There's offense versus the defense. There's supposed quarterback controversy. I think if the Oilers start 1-3, you're in real danger of witnessing what they refer to as the old El Foldo here in Houston.
Well, there's James Lofton in a Los Angeles Ram uniform, signed this week at the age of 37, the all-time NFL leader in receiving yards. Cleveland Gary will be back in the starting lineup for the Rams, out last week against the Giants with a bruised thigh. And how about Wilber Marshall, Randy? His first start at Houston in the Dome. He started last week at San Diego, missed the first couple of weeks with a knee injury. Here's Al Del Greco. He will kick to the Rams. Russell White is back along with Steve Israel. White at the top of your screen.
Jim, Wilber Marshall makes big plays. Look for him to blitz from the very first. On the first play, watch Wilber Marshall. He's coming after Jim Everett.
Going to Russell White, and it's out of bounds.
This is where the grinding fault line comes off right here at the beginning of the game. They're discussing here. Al Del Greco, one of the better non-professional golfers in the league, sort of shanked his kickoff and put it out of bounds.
Jim Everett at quarterback, lowest rated quarterback in the National Football League. His offensive line has allowed only 2 sacks this season. The ageless wonder, Jackie Slater, at right tackle, his 199th career start in the league. And the backs today, Cleveland and Gary, with Tim Lester, Anderson, and Ellard. Anderson caught a touchdown last week against New York. McNeil at tight end. They did not throw or complete a pass to a tight end last week. So they'll start from the 35. Randy, what can we look for the Rams, from the Rams right away?
They need a confidence pass for Jim Everett, but more importantly, there's 2 things: the running the ball and handling the blitz, Jim.
Cleveland Gary for about 3, tackled by William Buller. The Houston defense has not allowed a touchdown in the last 8 quarters. Here's their base defense. There's the line. And the linebacking crew includes, again, Wilber Marshall with Smith and Robinson. In the secondary, everyone in this group except for Bubba McDowell has scored a touchdown this season. In fact, the Oilers defense has scored a touchdown in each of the first 3 games. One by Lewis, one by Robertson, one by Dishman. 2nd down and 7. There's the completion to Henry Ellard for a first down. It's the first time this season the Rams have picked up a first down on their opening possession of the game.
The Rams need to establish some sort of a rhythm offensively. 2 weeks against Pittsburgh, a lot of rhythm. Jim Everett hit Henry Ellard. Ellard had more than 100 yards receiving, and the Rams offense went smoothly. Last week against New York, I mean, to call it erratic was a compliment for the Rams offense. They need to get into a rhythm where it's run, pass, pass, run. But things are positive that are happening, and that guy, Jim Everett, is not on his back too much.
It's 1st and 10 for the Rams. Going long on the sideline route, well covered. Houston had 2 defenders back there, Lewis and Robertson, defending against Flipper Anderson.
That's one thing both these teams have a lack of, and I think it's real extreme speed on the outside. I don't think either one of these teams are threats to kill you long. Both want to stretch you a little bit, as that was just a stretch, kind of a warning shot by Ernie Zampese, the offensive coordinator of the Rams.
Lofton was signed this week by the Rams. Do you think we'll see much of him today, Randy?
You've got to see James Lofton a lot on third down. He's got the savvy, he's got the experience, he can read defenses, and Ernie Zampese says he picked this offense up faster than anybody he's ever seen.
2nd down and 10. They'll run it and get to midfield with Cleveland Gary. Only a run of about 3 yards. Lee Williams on the tackle. Gary played the first 2 weeks, and then with a deep thigh contusion, couldn't push off of it last week, had to miss the game against the Giants.
And he's a 1,000-yard rusher, Jim. You got to have that kind of experience. They've got nothing but rookies. Jerome Bettis, the #1 pick. You got Russell White out of Cal, is behind Jerome Bettis. I mean, you've got to have the veteran in there, because when there is a hole, a veteran's going to be able to hit it where a rookie's just looking at it before it closes.
The Rams have 3 receivers in the game. Ernie Jones comes in. 3rd down and 7. Anderson for the first, and inside of the 40. Flipper Anderson cutting across for a gain of 13, tackled by Dishman.
And this is a good example of what happens when Jim Everett starts to get his game going. He throws this ball right where Flipper Anderson can get it. Normally when Jim Everett's off and he's just throwing it a little bit worse than other times, it goes behind or in front of the receiver too much. That time he let it within the body frame. Sure, it was a little bit behind, but was still within the rib cage and the body of Flipper Anderson so he could catch it.
1st down for the Rams from the 38. Cleveland Gary, that's good for about 3. Wilbur Marshall brought him down.
And a nice start for Jim Everett and these Los Angeles Rams on this drive. They've got some running plays, but more importantly, they're dealing with the pass rush, they're dealing with the blitz, and they're spreading the ball around. They're throwing it to the running back, they're throwing it to both wide receivers. Keep track of who's catching the ball for Jim Everett. When he's spreading around the ball, that's when he's successful.
They picked up 2 on that play. 2nd down and 8. Cleveland Gary diving for about 3. It'll set up a 3rd and about 5 situation. Al Smith, the middle linebacker for Buddy Ryan's defense, made the tackle.
And this is attack time right now for this defense as far as Buddy Ryan's concerned. When you get Jim Everett and the Rams in 3rd and 5, you go after him. When you're going after him in nickel, you bring Al Smith out and you put in extra defensive backs. You also put in an extra linebacker. But the most important thing for them to do right now is to bring a blitzer, probably a Lamar Latham. 57's in the game. Look for him to come after Everett.
3rd and 5. Quarterback sneak. Quarterback draw, I should say, and it's a 1st down. How about that play, Randy? Inside of the 20, a 13-yard run by Everett, his longest run of the season.
Well, I'm sure Jim Everett would like all his critics and various writers and whatnot to say, well, look, when a guy's afraid and the guy's flinching, he stands in the pocket and falls down. But when the guy's looking for the respect of his teammates and wants to get his offense going, he runs the ball and takes a chance. Great call by Ernie Zampese and great execution by Jim Everett.
They have 3 receivers in the game. Sean LaChapelle, the rookie from UCLA, is in. 1st and 10. Comes the blitz. Pass too steep for Ernie Jones. Darrell Lewis defending.
Nice job of anticipation by Darrell Lewis. And the only reason that wasn't a pickoff for 6 points is Everett, I think, looked like he saw that coming and overthrew that ball, because Darrell Lewis got a great jump on that pattern.
Jim Everett, originally a 1st-round pick by Houston in 1986. He was the 3rd pick that year overall in the draft. Never signed with him. Had to move on to the Rams on a trade that has really benefited the Houston team a great deal as well. Jones jumped for the Oilers on 2nd and 10.
And Irv Eatman just now got out of his stance. He just sat there just to prove the point that he wasn't the one that moved.
Encroachment, number 96 defense, 5 yards, still second down.
Words from Larry Nemmers today. This Houston defense, again, has not allowed a touchdown in the last 8 quarters. They shut out Kansas City here 2 weeks ago and yielded 6 field goals to San Diego last week in an 18-17 loss.
This is a very interesting defense. They can look almost ambivalent at times, really not trying almost, and then they come alive. They can make very big plays, and when you back them up against their goal line is when they get the toughest.
And 2nd and 5, the 10th play of the opening series. Cleveland Gary inside of the 10. And it'll be another first down for the Rams. And for only the 2nd time this season, they have a 1st and goal to go situation.
Watch the surge by the Rams offensive line. Nice combination block on Childress by Jackie Slater, and Goaz opens that whole thing up on the right, back on the right side, and enables Cleveland Gary to cut back for that gain.
You can see the Rams have had it 6 times inside of the 20. They've only had one other occasion where they had a 1st and goal. Now from the 7. Gary down to the 4.
And a nice combination and change-up. We talked about the rhythm the Rams needed. The Rams have the rhythm going. 11 plays in this drive. They have 6 runs, 5 passes.
This is a Rams offense that came in ranked 25th in the National Football League. Total offense. Chuck Knox. They said after that Giants loss last week there will be brighter days. It's just that right now we're horrible. That's the way they felt about their offense last week. 2nd and goal. Touchdown to Anderson. Flipper Anderson. Beautiful timing. Good pass by Everett. That's the first touchdown pass allowed by the Houston defense in 17 quarters.
Gerald Lewis, who was defending on that play, went down in a heap just as the ball was delivered. You know, the greatest way to... You have a lot of room to improve, I should say, from horrible. And this is a lot better than horrible. This is a great executed drive by the Los Angeles Rams. A nice pass by Jim Everett. And this is the way they wanted to start. But keep in mind, you have a young team. You have a team that hasn't had much success in the Rams in the last couple of years. They can get excited. You have a veteran unit in the Houston Oilers. They know it's a long game.
We'll be back with the extra point. Rams drive for a touchdown right away.
This is the office where our force
sent to the Houston bench, getting some attention. He was injured on that touchdown pass play from Everett to Anderson. Flipper scoring for the 2nd straight week. He had a diving touchdown against the Giants of 51 yards a week ago.
It puts Houston in a rough spot, Jim. Gerald Lewis has made a lot of big plays and has complimented Chris Dishman on the other side very well. Probably look for Steve Jackson, the 3rd-year player out of Purdue, to come in. He's normally the nickel back. You'd think the natural progression would be for him to replace Lewis at cornerback.
The former Houston Oiler, Tony Zendejas, for the extra point try. And it's 7-0 Los Angeles. They kept the football for over 6 minutes on the opening drive. And they lead 7-0.
Great pieces for one low price. MasterCard, it's more than a credit card, it's smart money. And by Hertz, for business, for pleasure. Nobody does it exactly like Hertz.
So now the Houston Oilers and Warren Moon will get the football for the first time today. Impressive opening drive by the Rams and Jim Everett especially.
Especially at 4 of 6. Finished that off with that touchdown pass to Flipper, but he had 6 runs, 6 passes, balanced drive, and he spread it around to 3 different receivers. That's very important. He can't get locked in on one receiver because this defense will take that receiver away, and then here comes the blitz. But my favorite play of that drive was Jim Everett's quarterback draw. Talk about a guy that just sort of grabbed things and said, well, you want leadership? You want a spark? You want something happening? I'll show you a spark.
That was a 3rd down play that picked up the first down inside of the 20. John Henry Mills and Willie Drury back for Houston, and it'll be a touchback. Drury will down it in the end zone.
Well, look at this. Wilbur Marshall is going to blitz, and he's going to blitz this way. Nice job by Cleveland Gary, but watch the passing lane that opens up when Wilbur Marshall goes straight ahead rushing. See the passing lane? If he'd have come right at the quarterback, I don't think Everett would have had the space to throw that ball in there.
So from the 20, Moon in the Oilers. There's Jeffries for a first down and a gain of about 15. Warren Moon, 5-time Pro Bowler, but replaced last week with 4 interceptions. For the first time in his career because of poor performance. Here's the offensive line. Eric Norgard starts at left guard for Munchak. And the receivers, a change with Leonard Harris starting for Curtis Duncan, who's out with a foot injury. 1st and 10 for Houston. Lorenzo White. Good run, about 9. Pat Terrell made the tackle in the secondary.
Lorenzo White had that typical great running back kind of caged animal attitude working yesterday. He says, look, I got to touch the ball, and when I say I got to touch the ball, I got to touch it 22, 23 times for me to be effective. A run like that's what Lorenzo White needed for himself and also for Kelvin Gilbride, the offensive coordinator, and Jack Pardee on the sideline to say, yeah, the run's working, we'll stay with Lowe.
2nd and 1. Trouble this time. He'll drop a couple of yards. Gerald Robinson running him out of bounds in the bench area of Houston. Here's the Rams defense, their base defense. They will really alter this today. Robert Young at defensive end, tied for the league lead with 6 sacks in 3 weeks. In fact, Shane Conlon in the middle told us he expects he'll play very little. They'll go with 6 defensive backs a good part of the way. Here is the base secondary, and they'll also add to it Robert Bailey and Steve Israel. So it's 3rd and 3. White lost a couple of yards on that carry. Moon throwing for it, almost intercepted. Todd Light had a great chance at it. Webster Slaughter was the intended receiver.
I love the gyrations defensive backs go through when they miss interceptions like this. It just convulses. There's 1 touch. There's Light. There's 2. And Todd Light knows that would have been 6 back the other way if he could have held on to this.
What kind of reaction or what kind of play would it take to get that reaction from an offensive lineman?
It's usually a penalty or a downfield, and you want to crawl under the carpet. You don't want to draw too much attention to yourself. You don't go out of your way.
Montgomery, usually brilliant, this time off the side of the foot. And they'll step it out at the 29. Montgomery came in averaging almost 51 yards a punt. And the Boo Birds are out as the Oilers trail early, 7-0. Their number 2 pick back in 1957. Finished up his career a couple of seasons with George Allen at Washington. Now in his 4th year as the coach of the Oilers. Rams lead here 7-0, their 2nd possession. Everett, man open. And it's Ellard with the catch across the 40, a first down.
And that was a gimme for the Rams because Tony Brown is in for Darrell Lewis. Just ran off. He was not going to be beaten deep by Henry Ellard. Henry Ellard pushed him up and then just came back to the ball. And by the time he caught the ball, Tony Brown was just stopping. So Everett and the Rams and Ernie Zampese, their offensive coordinator, going after the young guy out of Fresno State, going to test him. Tony Brown in for Lewis. We're hearing a sprained knee, and it's doubtful that Lewis will return to the secondary for Houston today. 1st and 10. Everett
does a good job avoiding the sack, and he threw it in the area of Lester. William Fuller with the pressure on the quarterback.
And for the first time today, Buddy Ryan's defense decides enough of it is enough of this sitting back. They come after him with 5-6 guys. And a nice job of Everett of avoiding the first sack, but where being pressured by Buddy Ryan's defense can get dangerous is after you get away from the first sacker and try to make something happen. Everett would have been, I think, much better off just flat throwing that away instead of into a crowd.
They've got Troy Drayton, a tight end, rookie tight end, lined up at the top of your screen as a receiver on 2nd and 10. Flags down as Gary is stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Football free. Now they're whistling it down.
It's going to be offsides in the Houston Oilers. Everett right now is using that inflection real well on the snap count. He's got Sean Jones and that whole defensive line jumping.
Defensive right tackle in the neutral zone at the snap. 5 yards, still 2nd down.
Watch, 3rd from the bottom. That's Lee Williams. Just gets that helmet into the neutral zone. That area taken up by the ball all the way across the field. And defensive linemen make their living doing that. Anticipating the snap. They've got to get off quick, and with the quarterback doing what Everett's doing, it can really wreak havoc.
So it's 2nd and 5 for the Rams. And Gary. Maybe a yard. Hit first by Marcus Robertson.
From a running game standpoint, the way to beat this Houston Oilers defense is right at them. It's really a feast or famine situation. You're either going to run at them and get -2, or you're going to run at them and make 10, 11, 12, 20 yards. This defense is so quick. It's not very big. It's not very physical. It's predicated on attacking and athletic ability. If you get right at them, that's where you're going to break it. Laterally, there's too much speed in pursuit.
3rd and 4. Everett, is that a fumble? No, an incomplete pass. Incomplete. Lamar Lathan, seeing his first action of the season, hammered the quarterback of the Rams.
You see Jim Everett blinking, trying to clear things up. Lamar Lathan had a broken forearm in the preseason, makes his first impact, and his impact is a Ram splatter. Look at that hit. That is a form tackle.
Yeah.
The only thing you got to wonder, though, is the league going to find him now because he hit him too hard? Or, you know, this thing with Chuck Cecil, I don't really like too much. I think it takes a lot of the aggressiveness out of the defensive players. That was a nice play by Lamar Lathan.
Paul McJulian signed this week. New punter for the Rams. Here's his first try as the punter in Los Angeles. And a fair catch by Willie Drury. 31 yards, no return.
Right now, this whole Houston Oilers fans in the Astrodome has got that attitude of, okay, guys, show me what you got.
Never drawn that assignment.
You hit him low, and you hit him often, and you hope he falls. But your only shot. And you yell at your center, your guard, your tackle, and say, help!
Gilbert in his 2nd season at a pit. And here's the dump pass to Lorenzo White. Tackle made by Robert Bailey. In fact, the interesting thing, focusing in on the Gilbert matchup, Randy, is that he's going against Eric Norgaard, only making his 2nd NFL start and replacing one of the better guards in football, Mike Munchak, still hobbled by a knee injury.
That's a critical matchup for the Oilers. They have got to get a draw there. They're realistic. They know they're not going to win that matchup, but they have got to get a draw because Gilbert and this defensive line can take control of the game. They've got to get to Moon without having to use the blitz, and the line's the way to do it.
2nd and 5. Moon. Harris diving for the football, but not coming up with it. Hindley on the coverage. 3rd down coming up for Houston. Jack Pardee said about Warren Moon this week, we do not have a quarterback controversy. Warren Moon is our quarterback, but everywhere you turn this week, that was the buzz around town here.
Well, that's what happens when you pay your backup quarterback $8 million over a few years. The people assume you have so much faith in him, he should be the guy. This is the quarterback of the Houston Oilers. Cody Carlson has a great attitude. He knows he's a relief pitcher. It's just hard to explain that to the fans and the media.
3rd and 5. Here come the Rams. Moon gets away. He'll run for the first. He has it as he goes out of bounds at the 34, a 7-yard scamper. Warren told us, I don't read the papers. I haven't read them this week, but I can tell that I've been getting a lot of heat because of the way that people come up and talk to me. They say, hey, Warren, hang in there. I don't believe all that stuff. He says, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I can sense that there's been a pro-Cody Carlson movement here this week. He didn't say that, but that's what's in the papers.
Well, Jim, believe something else. Football players read newspapers. Yeah. They will quote you verbatim out of articles they've never read, which I think is extremely psychic.
1st and 10. Batted down. And it was either Stokes or Gilbert.
And this is the kind of thing that the Rams have got to do. They've got to block Warren Moon's passing lanes. You can either do it with your body getting in his face, or you get your hands up. And in here, Tim Stokes just gets up there and knocks that ball down. That's an example of sort of what Wilbur Marshall might have had an opportunity to do on that blitz down by the goal line, where that passing lane opened up for Jim Everett. He threw the touchdown. Stokes closed Warren Moon's passing lane.
2nd and 10. White. It'll be about 3rd and 5. Stopped by Roman Pfeiffer. Talked about on that first series for the Oilers how Lorenzo wants the football 22, 23 times. He's getting a pretty good pace going here today.
Good hesitation. Watch this. He runs up there, then he stops. There's not a lot of running backs that have the calmness and the presence of mind to get up there. You know, they old keeping your head while those all about you are losing theirs. Well, defensive guys' mission in life is to lose their heads, not to mention your head. So it's good to see Lorenzo White's got that instinct.
3rd and 5. Pass to Slaughter. See where they mark it. Be close to the first. Big hit by Anthony Newman.
He was past the sticks when he caught the ball, but he wasn't past the sticks for very long because Newman came out like a rocket and knocks him down. Now here's an example of something people may talk about when they say you've got small wide receivers in the run and shoot offense. Well, a small wide receiver kind of bounces like that. But Webster Slaughter is not a small wide receiver. When you're going sideways, even a guy the size of Slaughter is going to bounce off that kind of a hit.
1st and 10 from the shotgun. Moon flings it. Oh! Slaughter had it for a moment, and Israel stripped it away.
That was very close to being a fumble. Very close. All a matter of possession. If he got those feet down, if he had any control. Nice play by Israel. It's something the Rams do have. They've used a lot of draft picks on defensive backs, and the greatest example, I know we talked to him 2 weeks ago, was Henley, talking about every time a defensive back comes in here, they say they're going to replace me. There's been Light, there's been Israel, there's been Bailey. They've got great talent at the quarterback position.
2nd and 10. Play for White and about a 3-yard gain. Gerald Robinson and Sean Gilbert both brought him down. Final minute of the first quarter. The Rams lead 7-0 on a touchdown pass. Touchdown pass of 3 yards from Everett to Anderson.
And here's a good time for the Rams. They haven't been using the blitz. They haven't been going after Moon with it. They've left it to their defensive linemen, but Moon has been hurt in the past by blitzes from the outside, specifically defensive backs coming off of slot receivers and into Warren Moon's blind side.
3rd and 7. The Houston quarterback is sacked. And credit that one to Fred Stokes, who had 2 sacks last week.
We were just talking about blitzes from the outside. Slot receivers, blitz here. Slot receiver, blitz here. And the pressure comes in the middle. Warren Moon's got nowhere to go. Here comes Henley from one side. Other side is Israel. Warren Moon tries to step up, but with the push, the level push the Rams line's getting, he just couldn't go anywhere.
There is a Houston Oilers player down. They are already thin on that offensive line.
And the one position they can't afford to have an injury or an ouch on is probably at offensive guard when they have Norgard starting for Munchak, Doug Dawson the other right guard.
That's Dawson right there, Randy. This is an offensive line revamp. They lost Don Maggs to free agency. Flannery out with an injury for the year, and Munchak out today.
Watch Warren Moon at the end of this play. There's Dawson. Oh, just goes over head first. Lands on the carpet. Just a little, I think he's a little fuzzy right now. They should be able to return, and the Oilers need him because they are very, very thin at offensive line.
Here's Montgomery, 29 yards on his first punt. Had a 77-yarder a week ago. Henley will return it. And gets across the 20. That's the end of the first quarter with the score. The Los Angeles Rams 7. The Houston Oilers nothing.
Surprised so far at this game?
I'm a little surprised, not so much by the defense of the Rams, but by the offense of the Rams. Jim Everett and the Rams have looked very solid, very confident. Right at the very end, though, you saw Buddy Ryan come with that Lamar Lathan blitz, and that made a big difference. Look for more of that.
Rams will have it to begin the second quarter from their own 21-yard line.
Jim Everett in the huddle just laughing, a little smile. It's amazing how much you can bounce around when you've had a good drive and you've got a little bit of a lead. You're playing in a place that's been referred to as the House of Pain. This place is absolutely quiet. I mean, there's just not much going on. I think these fans would be the first ones to tell you right now they want to see what the Oilers have got. They're not impressed.
Look at Gary. A hard run of about 6 yards. Grabbed by the ankles by Sean Jones, and Al Smith finished him off.
And Gary's getting the perfect chunks, Jim. When he's getting these runs, he's getting 4, he's getting 5, he's getting 6. He's putting Ari Zampese, the offensive coordinator, in a great situation. In his chess game against Buddy Ryan, you love those 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6s. That opens up your playbook. That opens up play action. That opens up even another run.
Call this one off the spot. 2nd down and 6. Everett got it away before the sack, and Gary had a chance at it. Couldn't handle it.
That's just a play. If your quarterback's making this kind of an effort and is trying this hard not to take a sack and to make something happen, you've got to cooperate. You have to catch that ball. Great play by Jim Everett. Just a little lack of concentration by Cleveland.
Lee Williams was the first to get to Everett, but he got the pass away to save a sack. 3rd and 6. Ernie Jones, good play. 1st down, Los Angeles at the 34. The former Cardinal, traded in the offseason, traded during camp, actually.
And a nice read by Jim Everett. He sees that blitz is coming from the right side with Lathan again. He knows it's 3 steps at the most to get that thing out. Look at Ernie Jones fight. He is not going to go down. He refused. Steve Jackson just smacks him in the face and he won't go down. Jones having that little change of scenery was with the Phoenix Cardinals, and now here in Los Angeles, he's working slowly into the offense.
1st down. Looked right, goes left. Back to Ernie Jones.
And this is a situation that the Houston Oilers were afraid of. This game is starting exactly like the Pittsburgh Steelers game with the Rams 2 weeks ago. Jim Everett is getting confidence, and when you've got Everett confident and you don't have him worried about everything else, he's getting support from his running back, his receivers are catching the ball, he can be one of the more dangerous quarterbacks in the league. I think Buddy Ryan has got to start thinking, I got to go after this guy. I've got to rattle him. I've got to stop this offense.
Rams have picked up 8 first downs. That equals their total for the entire game last week. First down run, Gary to the 49. About 3. Randy, they had it last week only 16.5 minutes. Lowest time of possession in the National Football League in any game this year. It's a different story today.
Oh, it definitely is. You look at these two teams on the field right now, the Rams have that kind of quiet cockiness and arrogance about them. You know, they're walking back from the plays, they're walking to the huddle, they look very confident, and Houston's the team at this point that looks like it has the problems.
2nd and 7. Gary for a yard right at midfield. Brought down by Smith and Robinson.
And that's another example of the lateral speed of the Houston Oilers defense. You don't want to have to bounce the ball. If you bounce the ball as a running back, you're looking at 2, 3, 4 different defenders chasing you down with their angles from the inside. That is not what the Rams want to do, but it looks like what the Rams want to do is kind of what Dan Reeves and the Giants did to Chuck Knox and the Rams last week. They took the ball and they pounded it, they threw high percentage passes, and they just took the opposing team, in this case the Rams offense, completely out of the game.
3rd and 6. Lester, first down. Picked up an extra 10 yards. And now this crowd is really upset. 22-yard pass play to Tim Lester.
Maybe next week the articles in Houston will be something about why didn't the Oilers keep Jim Everett? Look what Jim Everett did to us. He's off to a great start. He has his choice, Gary or Lester, and he goes to the guy that Ernie Zampese, the offensive coordinator, refers to as just a guy you love to see do well. He works hard. He's always smiling. He's got a fantastic attitude. Going into last week, he'd never had a carry, and in 2 weeks, he's become a real part of this offense.
First down, Everett looking near the end zone. Ellard has it and is out of bounds at the 2. Jim Everett is on his game today.
Just watch Ellard. He's working in this case against Brown, and he turns Brown completely around. That is the case of the quarterback, the coordinator, and the receivers just saying, hey, look, we need a big play. You don't go after the dishman, you go after the young guy. He hasn't been in there. Darrell Lewis is out with that ankle injury, remember, and or knee injury, and they're taking advantage right now.
First and goal, they bring in the rookie Jerome Bettis. Bettis gets the ball. Bettis banging near the goal line, and they'll mark him short. Al Smith collided with him. Bettis had to go a good part of the way last week against the Giants, even with a sternum injury. 10th pick in the first round. Watch him here.
And at 5'11", about 245, what he adds is a back that can run with speed and run with power. Look at that. I mean, he's getting smacked. He's getting hit hard, but he's a running back that keeps his pads low and goes forward. And when he gets into a pile, you best not be standing in front of him because he's going right through your legs.
Split backfield on 2nd and goal. Sneak. Everett. Didn't get it.
You got there all the signals there from didn't get it to Sean Jones is kind of optimistic, pointing the other way like we've got the ball. But watch the surge. Look at the blue surge. Sean Jones and the defensive line has gained at least a half a yard into the Rams' backfield. That is the problem the Rams had last week. They lost the battle of the surges up front.
Buddy Ryan's defense needs to give this Houston team a big lift right now. 3rd and goal. Bettis, touchdown. Touchdown Rams. Lead block by Tim Lester. For Bettis, his second NFL touchdown.
And that's a good example of just the dominant factor of this Rams offense so far in a quarter and a half or so of play. They have taken control. Watch Lester. Just drives out Robinson, and that leaves a gaping hole that Al Smith can't fill. I mean, you can't have to stuff the lead blocker to have any choice on a lead play.
Extra point makes it 14-0. It was almost a 6-minute drive. They took it 79 yards. Bettis with the touchdown. Rams 14-0.
They're in a situation where now, from now on out, they can dictate to the Oilers, and that's a situation the Oilers are not used to. An Oiler defense with Buddy Ryan is used to dictating to the offense. The run and shoot dictates to the defense. Not anymore. They can start taking chances on the Rams side.
Game summary, the Rams have scored on 2 of their 3 possessions. And Everett, look at his numbers. He was 4 out of 5, by the way, on that last drive. And they've had it for 14 minutes.
You have to give just as much credit to Jim Everett as you do to the Rams defense. Everett's done a great job reading the blitz, finding the open receiver. By the same token, let's remember this run and shoot offense of the Houston Oilers is supposed to be so impressive, and this young Ram defense has just snuffed them so far.
Mills and Drury back for Houston, coming in the direction of Drury. Again, he'll down it. They'll start from the 20.
There's a man looking to make something happen. This Houston Oilers offense has got to get things rolling.
And Saints are next. Pat and John will have it for you. The 49ers swept the series last year against New Orleans. Dawson is in the game. We saw him shaken up earlier. He's in there at right guard. The run by Lorenzo White. Bouncing around for about 5. Eric Norgard threw a good block on that play.
You know, one thing I like about this Rams defense is they don't seem to be intimidated by anybody. Even last week, as much as Hampton ran the ball for the Giants and the time of possession involved, this Ram defense stood there toe-to-toe and slugged with the Giants. And they do not seem to be the least bit intimidated by Warren Moon in this run and shoot. They're rallying to the ball, and look for them to run a lot of stunts up front now and get pressure on Warren Moon.
2nd and 5 for Moon. White. Gilbert grabs a hold of him at the 27. This Rams defense, Randy, we talked to Shane Conlon, and he really hasn't been in the game very much today. He told us that was part of the package they had going in, but he was excited about how much fun they were having. He said, I know it's kind of strange to say this because we lost to the Giants, but everyone out there was having a great time. It's the most fun I've ever had in a football game in my career. Well, said Shane Conlon. There he is.
A lot of it goes back to the youth of this team. He compares it to a college atmosphere.
3rd and 2. Houston gets a first down, but there's a flag on the field.
And that could be a holding. That went down too fast right near a guard or a center not to be a hold.
Take it back. Holding. Number 74 offense. 10 yards. Repeat 3rd down.
Okay, you play umpire. What are you going to call here? Watch 74, Matthews. Little double team. Got him by the shoulders. I've seen a lot worse than that. But the problem is, Matthews had his hands outside on those side numbers. If you grab inside, you can almost undress the guy. You get your arms outside where an official can see him, they're going to call hold.
3rd and 12. Backed up to the 18. Slaughter has the first down. think this is an important first down for the Oilers?
It's important for a lot of reasons, but the one I look at is the Rams' approach to this run-and-shoot defense, or offense. They're not going after the quarterback. What they're doing is they've elected to play with 6 defensive backs. They're going to play softer, they're going to give up yards, and they're going to try to make plays once the ball is caught. They are not worried so much about Warren Moon as they are disrupting the patterns and the wide receivers of this offense.
17 yards. You saw Slaughter break huddle and look back to Moon. Exchanged a couple of words. And they're looking long. They had Slaughter and Jeffries both in the area. With Light and Terrell defending.
Now watch the end of this play. And watch what you think might be pass interference. We got a little player Emmy working here. Everybody's looking at the ball. Now here comes Slaughter's player Emmy. He gets up like, how could that not be pass interference? My goodness, I was interfered with.
Were there supposed to be 2 Oilers in the area?
Probably not. But if there hadn't been 2 Oilers in the area, I think the Rams would have been in a bad situation.
2nd and 10. Screen pass. Room for White. Down at the Los Angeles 45.
This is set up beautifully. The pass rush comes upfield. The offensive line moves this way, and Lorenzo White comes this way. Watch the way this sets up. First part, you got to have the rush. Second part, you got to get the line out. And third part is you're matching up offensive linemen and big running backs on small cornerbacks in the defensive backfield.
Today, Sean Gilbert rushed the quarterback and then ran downfield to make the tackle. That was impressive, too. First down for the Oilers. Harris? No, out of bounds. Pretty good catch, though.
Well, Curtis Duncan's out of the game. They declared him out and unable to play, and the Oilers are excited about getting a chance to see Leonard Harris. It was a great catch, but he was definitely out. They're looking at Harris for 2 reasons. One, to get Harris in the game and get him some playing time, but secondly, and maybe more importantly, to move Ernest Givens out to an outside wide receiver to utilize their speed. He's the one wide receiver that can run for Houston as a speed factor.
Givens at the bottom of your screen. 2nd and 10, draw play. White with room. Jeffries throws a block. And he's a yard shy of the first. Pat Terrell tackled him in the secondary.
This is a good example also of the run and shoot and how it spreads out of defense. Look how far apart those gold pants are. And when the pants get that far apart and the bodies are attached to them, a running back like Lorenzo White has way, way too much room to move. What a defense is then tempted to do is move too many people up, the old 6, 7, 8 guys in the box. And when they do that in the box, that means Warren Moon can go up top.
3rd and 1. White first down. Good surge by the offensive line on that one, and White easily collects the first down just inside of the 30.
So far in this drive, Jim, it's been an attitude adjustment for the Oilers. The Oilers now have that sort of arrogance about them in the huddle. It's sort of like, this is enough of this. Let's come out and get some work done. But Jack Pardee knows well that this is a drive that must end in a touchdown. He needs the sort of the ultimate momentum. He doesn't need a field goal.
4:30 left in the first half. 14-0 Rams. Moon knocked away. Pat Terrell, 37. He knocked it away. His old Notre Dame teammate Todd Light back there too. They went to Haywood Jeffries.
And when it gets down into the red zone area, here we're at the 30-yard line. That is Haywood Jeffries territory. Talk about a Jeffries, gee, he doesn't practice real great, and doesn't always do things the way you want it, but when it comes time for playing on Sundays, he ignores a lot of stuff. He's got a groin pull he injured in warm-ups last week against San Diego that kept him out of practice, but he is a gamer.
2nd and 10. 10th play of the series for Houston. Moon throws it away. He had pressure coming from Gilbert from behind. We have an update. Let's send you back to New York. Here's Greg Gumbel.
All right, Jim, at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Derek Moore becomes the first running back other than Barry Sanders to score a touchdown for the Lions since Barry arrived in '88. 16-7, Detroit leading the Cardinals second quarter. Jim?
Right. That's a good note. 16-7 Lions over the Cardinals.
But why would you give the ball to anybody but Barry Sanders?
Yeah, they only been carrying about, what, 2 other running backs, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, he accounts for about 97% of their running game on a yearly basis.
3rd and 10. 4:16 left in the half. Jeff Reese makes the diving catch and crawls for the first down.
Jeffrey's trying to get this crowd jacked up a little bit, get them back into the game. They've been very quiet. Little jam up here. Let's play around. Let's get Slaughter. Let's go underneath. Remember the old Three Stooges? What was that, Curly?
Is that what that reminded you of? Well, Houston's got the mo right now. Ooh. From the 18.
Good segue.
Yeah. Careful. Moon's pass dropping at the feet of Anthony Newman.
The Rams did an effective job there of getting pressure on Warren Moon with just their defensive line, and that's why Moon was moving around and looking so much, because that leaves the Rams 7 defenders to get down the field and clog things up like on that one.
Moon completing 40%.
This run and shoot offense, though, Jim, things come in big chunks. You're going to have low percentage and big yards.
2nd and 10. Gilbert gets to the quarterback. The Rams' 2nd sack of the half.
Here's what Warren Moon's seeing. He sees the blitz. Roman Pfeiffer, is he coming? Yeah. Is there somebody coming from the left? Yeah. Unfortunately, the blitzers were picked up, but Big Sean Gilbert wasn't picked up. And that is a situation for the Houston Oilers where physically they need a better matchup with Norgard and Gilbert. They've got to get Norgard some help because it's just physically a case where the young second-year player is much stronger and more physical than Norgard.
3rd and 16. Another sack. Now this takes him so far back there, he'll have to attempt a long-range field goal. It was Robert Young.
This is a communication problem right here because this is not a linebacker. This is a defensive lineman, and the Oilers seem to treat him like a linebacker. Norgard jumps in, or I should say Dawson jumps in, Young goes out. You can't give a defensive lineman with that kind of momentum any kind of room because that makes an offensive lineman turn his shoulders. And when an offensive lineman turns his shoulders, the quarterback usually ends up on his back.
Al Del Greco, this will be a 53-yard try. His career long is 54. Plenty of distance. Got it. Del Greco hitting from over 50 like Zendejas does for the Rams. Of the 53-yard line, or not yard line, but the spot. Yard line, but the spot. So field goal for the Oilers, but you have to think that the Rams are very satisfied with that.
That's a momentum push. I think the Oilers wanted to get on the board, but that young Rams defense is just as excited about only getting a field goal as Houston might have been about giving it up. This Rams defensive line is playing a big one today.
Russell White through the end zone. Rams will have it with 2:21 left in the first half.
So far, just to sort of illustrate Jim Everett's situation in this game, you know, last week against the Giants, they were getting hammered. This week, 13 runs, 14 passes, and he's spreading the ball around. That's when Everett looks his best.
Does seem to be a ridiculous question now. Jim Everett, really fine first half here.
You know, Jim Everett's the right now for the Los Angeles Rams. I think that's the way to look at it. T.J. Rublus, who's listed as the number 3, is the guy I think they're looking at down the road as their quarterback of the future in Los Angeles.
Everett, 9 of 14, will come out firing prior to the 2-minute warning. He hits Travis McNeil, who will stop the clock at the 34-yard line. First down, 14 yards to the tight end. They did not complete a pass to the tight end last week.
And they're attacking that same side of the Oilers defense. The Oilers took Tony Brown, who was wearing number 22, out, but Steve Jackson looked for number 24 as the man at cornerback position that the Rams are now going to be going after. There he is right there. And, you know, the way an offense gets on a roll like this can be a very unfair situation for a defensive back.
We're actually at the 2-minute warning. 14-3 Rams. With a story on the missing goal rush. That's the 49er defense that's had some trouble here early. Randy, what's up with your old team?
Well, I think that's one thing you're going to see in the game following this at New Orleans, San Francisco. You're going to see plenty of offense, but it's going to be an unexpected source. It's going to be coming from Wade Wilson and the New Orleans Saints. I think the 49er defense is in some serious trouble, and 49ers at this point look to be in one of those the down years, which for them is a 10-6 kind of a year, but nevertheless, it's a down defense.
Everett to Ellard. And the Rams are in Houston territory.
Look at this. When Jim Everett's going good, he throws balls into places where normally you'd call it a force. But he's hitting Henry Ellard down the field into a 2 deep with the cornerback trailing and the safety inside, and he puts it in the perfect position.
That was a 26-yard completion. The Rams have all 3 timeouts remaining.
How much momentum that field goal got now for Houston?
Not much now. Gary, the 35, and Everett calls the timeout. Leaves the Rams with 2.
That puts him inside of Tony Zendejas' field goal range. The way he's kicking was 8 for 8 outside of 50, and we're indoors. So it's a real non-factor. You're just talking distance.
Zendejas has not missed a kick from outside of 50 yards since 1988 when he was a member of the Houston Oilers. There's Chuck Knox.
And talking to Everett right there was Ted Tolner, a guy that has to get a lot of credit as, I guess you'd say, head coach, father confessor, psychologist. You know, it's his job to get inside number 11's head, rattle things around, put the little pieces together, and make sure they all fit.
There's Tony Zendejas. Made 21 of his last 22 on the road. His last 8 from over 50 yards. .121 left in the half. 2nd and 5 for the Rams. Jackson might have the INT. He does. There's a flag on the field, however. Jackson runs it back to the 47, but everyone waits for the penalty.
Jackson better enjoy that because I think they're going to hit him on a push.
Jackson was on Flipper Anderson. Did Jackson push off or hold? Yes.
Anderson coming out of that break abruptly stopped. It was one of those things in your peripheral vision. You're watching the game.
Number 24, 5 yards, automatic first down.
You know, you're watching things happen out there, and suddenly something goes, but it shouldn't go. And when a receiver's running, a receiver usually shouldn't stop in that situation. And they got Jackson on the tug. Doesn't take much at that level. It's just a little pull at the back of the jersey, a pull on the side of the jersey.
That's 5 penalties against Houston in this game. The Rams have not been hit with a penalty yet. 1st and 10 from the 30. Gary, only a yard that time. Lynn Montgomery on the stop. There's a timeout called on the field, but it was called by the Oilers.
And the Rams, don't look for the Rams to do anything spectacular in the way of crossing. I think if they try to take a shot down the field, it's got to be laterally. It's got to be working against the cornerbacks. And if you make your pick, you go back after Jackson. Jackson just had that interception. But if you're going to make your choice and you want to take your shot down the field, I think that's the place you do it at. And you don't make a mistake inside the field where you can turn over the ball and not get some points out of this possession.
You know, talking of possessions, Randy, Buddy Ryan's defense had allowed the opponents 35 drives this year, 35 series or possessions, and only 2 of them ended up in touchdowns, 2 out of 35. But already twice in this game, the Rams have driven for touchdowns and looking for a third. 2nd and 9, Everett. And another flag that was intended for Ernie Jones.
You're going to get Chris Dishman on the other side for another hold, I think. Just as that ball was in the air going towards the receiver, Dishman looked to reach out and grab him.
Number 28. Could read his lips. Chris Dishman on the hold. Here it is.
One more time. Watch the what the official called was just when the replay started. You saw the hands on the back of Ernie Jones. It was a push. It was illegal use of hands. Little push in the back as the ball was in the air to knock the receiver off stride. Give a little credit to that Oilers defense. They went after Everett that time and they almost got him.
Automatic first. Everett. Anderson open. No.
Here it is. Blitz was coming. That's another hold. You saw Jackson just grab Anderson's jersey, and he just had that hold made the difference. Those are the little things. Offensive lineman hold, well, defensive backs hold too, and that little tug was the difference between an incompletion and a touchdown.
Jackie Slater was really slow getting up, Randy, but he stays in the game.
He was slow getting up, Jim, because William Fuller stomped on his stomach. I think he knocked the wind out of him. They're having a bit of a tussle.
2nd and 10. Trying to cross him up with the draw. And Gary brought down by Montgomery. But another flag.
We're going through one of the longer 10 seconds in pro football history here, trying to get some plays off.
First Ram penalty of the day.
Illegal formation, number 75 offense lined up in the backfield. 5 yards, still 2nd down.
Chuck Knox team does not make many mistakes. It's only the 10th penalty the whole season. 4 games now.
Chuck Knox tolerates, I think, physical mistakes because he knows people get beat. He does not tolerate mental mistakes. And that was sort of a compensation thing by Eatman. I don't know what left tackle's thinking. Left tackle's thinking, they're coming after me. It's a pass situation. Here comes the blitz. Here comes the stunt. I'm going to cheat back at my two-point stance a little bit, open that left leg up, and that's when part of your body gets in the backfield, and that's an illegal formation.
Houston declined the penalty. So it's 3rd down, 3rd and 12. And they stop the Rams this time. Cleveland Gary. Surprised by that call on 3rd and 12?
Not at all. Not at all. Not with a kicker like Luis Zendejas. I think what Chuck Knox and the Rams want is Tony Zendejas, they want points. They get up here, they go into the locker room by 14 points, 47, 48-yard field goal is almost automatic for this guy. That's not too conservative. That's just playing your percentages.
Timeout called.
Houston, that's their 2nd team timeout.
Oilers stop it.
40-second timeout.
Oilers stop it with 13 seconds remaining. Did you ever think you'd live to see the day when you would say that 47, 48 yards, that's almost automatic?
It's amazing what some of these guys are doing. I mean, you look at Zendejas, you look at Carney in San Diego. I mean, he's not done because San Diego's offense right now is he's going to kick a lot of field goals. They're going to start reminding people of that vaunted New Orleans Saints attack for a few years where, you know, the featured performer was Morton Anderson.
Right.
You know, so he's not done. They're all over the league, even the old guys. And you might put Zendejas as an old guy, but guys like Nick Lowry are still booting them. Matt Barr's back in Philadelphia. It used to be 50 yards was sort of the benchmark. I think now you're moving it back 5 yards. That's where the real legs come in.
47 yards. Zendejas, 6 years with the Oilers. 85-90, the number 2 all-time scorer. His first time back in the Astrodome. Zendejas. Oh! He hit the upright. No good.
So much for automatic.
He's too close.
Kickers are kind of like pitchers. Just when you start talking about how they got their game grooved, the next guy hits a dinger on him and puts it out. Speaking of dingers, there's a dinger. Not quite wide right. Oh, how could it do that?
Tony says, hey, we backed this up about another 10 yards, I would have made it. You know, I have a better career percentage.
Yeah, he says I played a draw and it faded.
It looked like it might have been drawing a little bit toward the end, but again, it hit the upright.
He had a 49-yard draw, but unfortunately it was a 48-yard field goal.
Right. So the Oilers run it to run out time in the first half. Jimmy Everett with a touchdown pass in the first quarter to Flipper Anderson. Jerome Bettis from a yard out in the second quarter. The Oilers get a field goal from Zendejas or from Del Greco. And that's the end of the first half with the score. The Rams 14 and the Oilers 3.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by American Honda, who has been making quality cars in America.
With the numbers game, first downs 2-1 Rams.
Passing yards almost 3-1.
The six penalties, I mean, that just sort of typifies the day it's been for Houston. It seems all 6 of those were defensive back penalties, holding, illegal use of hands, and every time they took a chance, Buddy Ryan tried to blitz, Jim Everett made him pay for it.
Everett threw for 152 yards in the first half. 1 touchdown, and again was not intercepted as the Rams did not turn it over.
And what they have managed to do, it isn't a great running game, but the Rams have rushed for 48 yards on 10 carries. You're averaging 4.8. You're putting your offense in a great position, and you're making it very hard for the defense to blitz.
Moon 6 out of 16, 75 yards. Would they consider making a quarterback change in the second half if they continue to sputter?
I don't think so. I don't think that's a situation that happens unless it's very, very late in the game and Warren ups his interception rate to about 3 or 4 picks.
Drury across the 20. Good run back to the 30. Gerald Boykin brought him down, but a good run back.
One thing you have to remember about Warren Moon, he, in my opinion, is in the same class as the Marinos and the Kellys and the Montanas and the Youngs and guys like that. If they have terrible days, yes, you pull them out. When they have a bad day and things aren't going well, that's the last time you want to pull them out. Or as Kevin Gilbride, the offensive coordinator, says, the last thing I want is my guy number 1 looking over his shoulder and worrying about somebody else behind him.
Play of the second half, and a connection to Ernest Givens for 17 yards, his first catch.
Warren Moon and the Oiler offense opens up with a little feel-good. We didn't see much of Ernest Givens in the first half. He's out there at the wide receiver position, and with that speed, managed to just push off enough to break underneath. Bailey couldn't stay with him, and you see Givens, he's not the biggest wide receiver, but with his speed, what he adds to this Oilers defense is the threat, and not the implied threat, the actual threat of a long play.
First down, Oilers. And again upfield, another completion, this time to Webster Slaughter. 16 yards. 17 yards pass play to Givens, 16 to Slaughter.
Oh, whatever was said at halftime, obviously there was a little communication between Warren and his wide receivers. It's one of the things that you can't overemphasize is the ability of this offense to adjust. You give the coaching staff of the Oilers a half to look at what you've been doing to them. You better change it up a little bit because this offense is very, very liquid. It will go to where you aren't, and they can adjust quickly.
From the Rams 37, first down. Jeffries, he bobbled it, but retrieved it at the 29.
You'll see this shot in a few highlight packages this weekend. Nice effort. 1, 2. You get 2 catches for that or just 1?
Well, they may count that as 2. Here's a guy that led the AFC in receiving the last 3 years. Maybe he's been doing that. We should go back and check the stats. Second and 3.
This is a run-and-shoot running play. Watch the delay. 1001, 1002. Holes open up. 4 seconds, it seems, in slow motion after the ball is snapped. That's what the run-and-shoot can do as a running offense, and that's the kind of play that Lorenzo White is very adept at taking advantage of.
Well, almost 5 yards a clip today. He told us yesterday, remember, Randy, he said, I'm ready to cut it loose. I'm more frustrated than anybody around here. I think there are a lot of Oilers frustrated that are vying for that most frustrated award. Here's White again, 5 times for 5 yards to the 15.
Well, remember the pressure I think that was put on this organization from the very beginning of this season when they sort of made the point themselves, this is it for the Oilers. They've got 23 free agents coming up next year. They say, as the Oilers are, this is the last year of this team being like this, so we've got to make it happen. We've got to do it this year. They have had injuries, they had holdouts, and it hurt them. You know, Jack Pardee makes the point, when I get my healthy guys back, we're going to be tough. But I think if Jack Pardee doesn't win now, things are going to be tough on Jack Pardee.
Second and 6. Boom, to the end zone. Harris, not too much. Houston with its deepest penetration of this game. They're at the Rams 16. They'll face 3rd and 6.
Just a little bit of an overthrow there because Pat Terrell was defending against Leonard Harris. And Harris was open, and Warren Moon running to his left. And so often you see that when a quarterback's running in the opposite direction of his arm. He's running to his left and he's throwing right. The accuracy level drops considerably.
3rd and 6. That'll be a first down if they give him the forward progress, and they do at the 8-yard line. Webster Slaughter.
Here was a receiver that was a big play threat when he was with Cleveland. But I think he's really blossomed here in Houston. He's finally got the nuances of this offense down. And it's, if any other receiver on this team, Webster Slaughter's skills are very suited to this offense.
Webster Slaughter playing in his 100th NFL game today. Sets up the Oilers' 1st and goal from the 8. White trying to cut back. Gains about 2.
97 Robinson on the tackle.
Let's keep an eye on Haywood Jeffries, a wide receiver, 6'2" wide receiver for the Houston Oilers, working against these shorter defensive backs of the Los Angeles Rams. That can be a physical mismatch. You know, all of the old alley-oop in San Francisco between Y.A. Tittle and R.C. Owens. I think Warren Moon and Jeffries make a combination that can take advantage of size mismatches.
9th play of the drive. 2nd and goal. Time for Moon. Knocked down. Todd Light got a hand on it.
41 Light. Depending on the play.
Well, you talk about Jeffries, they cooperate and throw it to him. Look at Lights taking the outside away, forcing Jeffries inside. He's begging for the ball. But I think he was as shocked as anybody else that Warren Moon threw that ball, because he threw that right into a spot where it should have been intercepted.
He's also on line with Slaughter, who is in the back of the end zone. How important is it to get in the end zone for Houston on this 3rd and goal?
Houston can't beat Los Angeles kicking field goals. They need touchdowns.
Moon gets it away. They'll have to settle for a field goal try this time. Pressure coming from Darrell Henley, who was blitzing.
And it was a nice job by the Oilers. They picked up the blitz. Lorenzo White, coming from the back position, picked up the blitz coming from the offensive right. Warren Moon just looked like he felt the blitz coming, tried to get rid of it, and missed through the ball. That was pure and simple. He had a receiver open.
Al Del Greco. Made one from 52 in the first half. This one a mere 25-yard try. 14-6. Rams.
This is another situation where the Rams defense happily comes off the field, having held them to 3, because they haven't seen anything from the Oilers defense that shows that they're going to stop the Rams offense. The Rams defense is betting that they're going to get more points.
Saints and Randy, how do you...
This traditionally is a field goal game. It's a game that comes down to 1, 2, 3 points, but I look this as a game where the 49ers will be hard pressed to keep the Saints under 30 points. I think the Saints win this one pretty, not easily, but they physically take it out of the 49ers.
Crowd has come to life at the Astrodome. Play action for Everett and the Rams on 1st down, and they hit Flipper Anderson, and he moves it to midfield.
Well, that won't do anything to put the crowd back into the game. That's for
telling you. 33 yards to Flipper.
Watch Jim Everett in the pocket, Jim. Look at the poise. He is sitting there, he's looking, he's not being pressured. That is highlight film material. That is what you would refer to as plan A if you're a Ram coach. That's how you want your quarterback to look.
So from the Houston 48, 1st down Rams. Ellard. The 42, a gain of about 6. And we have an update back in New York, so let's send you there. Greg Gumbel, take it away.
All right, Jim, at the Silverdome in Pontiac. Watch Andre Ware, time to throw, looks right, looks left, finds Brett Perryman, back of the end zone, touchdown, extra point, 23-17. Detroit regains the lead over Phoenix in the 3rd, Jim.
All right, Andre Ware won the Heisman Trophy at the University of Houston with his coach at the University of Houston, Jack Pardee. Won it in 1990. Here's 2nd and 3. It was intended for Lester. Al Smith was breathing pretty heavily on Lester across the middle.
Houston has got to pressure Jim Everett. If Houston lets Jim Everett sit back here in this situation, he'll do 2 things to him. One, he will hurt him with the passing game. And Everett does have the ability, as you saw, to get the ball 20, 25 yards down the field, which Houston Oilers offense has not shown that ability. What Everett will also do to him is Everett will pound him with the run with Gary and Bettis.
3rd down and 3. Pump fake and knocked down. Knocked down by Marcus Robertson. That was intended for Ernie Jones. Oiler defense knows what it's like to sprint to the end zone. They've scored a touchdown in each of the first 3 games.
Watch Everett. He knows it's being taken away right there. That's not a pump fake. That's he sees the coverage and he says, oh, I better not squeeze it in there. So instead of squeezing it in there, he puts it in the middle of those guys and gets the old triple whammy going on his receiver.
We'll try to pin the Oilers deep in their own territory. Here's Nick Julian, who replaced Don Bracken this week. Derek catch called by Drury at the 14. We're about midway through the third quarter. 14-6 Rams. Jim Nantz with Randy Cross at the Astrodome. 14-6 Rams. They led 14-0. Then Houston had back-to-back field goals from Al Del Greco. This series for the Oilers begins at their own 14. Made a little stutter step move to find an open gap, and he takes it to the 20. A gain of 6.
What the Oilers need here is to step up their own pace a little bit. They seem so lethargic, sort of stuck and being very methodical. I mean, they're not getting much help from this crowd. Usually you feed off your home crowd, and this is very much a theatrical audience. You know, if something goes good, there's some polite golf claps of the, oh, here, 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 and if it goes bad, it's no author, it's boo.
A lot more noise over at the Ryder Cup today than there is in the Astrodome. For Moon, is that a fumble? Calling an incompletion. Little hesitation on that call, but Stokes came in on Moon.
And Fred Stokes does what all defensive linemen are taught to do when you get after a quarterback that hasn't quite thrown the ball. Watch number 60. Working right there against Donnelly, gets a spin. I don't know, from that angle, it looks like Stokes' arm knocked the ball forward more than Moon's motion did. I think the Oilers got lucky.
Well, Fred Stokes was inducted into a Hall of Fame yesterday back at his alma mater, the Georgia Southern Hall of Fame. Played for Irk Russell, won a couple of national championships, Division I AA. He's 3rd and 4. Moon firing it long. He's got Gibbons, and Gibbons will take it all the way.
Well, you're looking a little lethargic. What do you need? You need a big play. And that was an oops. The first oops looked like Mike Bailey, letting him run by. The second oops by Newman, not covering over behind him. That was a coverage blow. And Gibbons, like no other receiver, they got medication can cure that.
7 minutes to go in the third quarter. And the Oilers are within 1.
I guess you call this a dance.
80 yards to 81.
The play is better than the dance.
Houston Oilers with their longest play from scrimmage this season, 80 yards to Ernest Gibbons, and they've scored 13 unanswered.
It's amazing what a little success will do for your home crowd. They're actually starting to try to do the wave here in the Astrodome, which is currently more like kind of a puddle ripple, but it's growing.
Howard Griffith is back to receive along with Russell White. Come to Russell White, and he hesitates, but will bring it out, and it's wide open on the left side. Del Greco with a little body tackle, and then holds on.
And Russell White will hear about that in the film room tomorrow. One-on-one with nothing between him and the end zone but the kicker. Watch, everybody I think assumes he's not coming. You see Griffith, the other guy back there, 30, going, whoa, 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 let me go. Here it is. Oh, kind of sort of a rugby body block by Al Del Greco, but you know, notice he threw that left side. He doesn't throw that right side in.
Run back to the 30. Jerome Bettis. He's the running back with the football to the 39. Sean Jones on the tackle.
This is a real test for Jim Everett in this offense. I think it could be worse for this team right now. If this home crowd was real loud, on top of the Oilers' defense attacking and the adjustments they would have to make because of the defense, this could be almost too tough a situation for this offense. But the crowd is not into this game yet completely, not that loud. But the key for the Rams is picking up the blitz, because Buddy Ryan's going to blitz him.
2nd and 6, and a flag falls. The play is whistled dead.
We got a little early movement, I think, on the right side of the Rams line.
Ball start, number 82 offense, prior to the snap, 5 yards, still 2nd down.
So that penalty, of course, will be stepped off 5 yards, so it counts officially as the first penalty of the game against the Rams.
That penalty was against Travis McNeil. You saw just cross in front of Chuck Knox. He's sort of a missing ingredient right now in the Rams offense. They've got Pat Carter, their regular tight end, is out. They need a threat from the pass offense standpoint from their tight end position, and right now they don't have it. Corey Drake can be the guy, but he's too inexperienced, and he's not yet.
2nd and 11. Cleveland Gary. Hit first by Lee Williams and finished off by Sean Jones.
We talked earlier in the game about psychics. Watch Wilbur Marshall. Think he studies much film? He knows right where it's coming. Where's it go? Good call, Wilbur. Matter of fact, it had to bounce out there because Wilbur Marshall and company had that hole plugged up. But here's a guy that makes plays. He'll recover a fumble, he'll make an interception, and he'll absolutely splatter a quarterback when he blitzes if he gets a chance.
They may come right now. 3rd and 13. That's Anderson with the reception, and they'll spot it enough for the first.
Great play by the Rams and Everett. Everett got a blitz and a check blitz, so he had about 6 or 7. So here's the check blitz. You're not getting all the guys, but they're looking for the running backs. If they go with them. Good offensive line support, good protection, great throw. A real poise show right there by Jim Everett in this offense.
14 yards on the 3rd and 13 situation. First down from the 45. And safe. Flag comes in for the back judge as Lester gains 13. Had a few holding calls against the Oiler defense in this game, haven't we?
Well, they had 4 in the first half, defensive penalties.
Holding, defense, number 50. Penalty is refused, first down.
We'll take the 13-yard play to Tim Lester.
I don't know which one of those signals Buddy Ryan just gave that means knock number 11 on his backside. But for the Oilers defense, that's the signal they got to have.
It was in there, though, huh?
I think so. They got to come after him. Got to do it.
1st and 10. Here's Bettis. Bulldozing his way. A power blast to about the 39. Bettis alternating now at running back with Cleveland Gary, and he talked to us last week about how gracious Cleveland Gary was when they first got together at camp, because it looked like on the surface that he was picked in the first round to replace Gary.
Gary was a real pro about it, sort of completely diffused the situation, took the rookie under his wing, and has really helped him develop. Gary knows you can't go through the season by yourself. You need some help.
2nd down, 6 to go. Here's Bettis. Oh, and right on him is Montgomery.
You saw those signals that Buddy Ryan was giving on his shirt, tugging on his cord, knocking his glasses off. Well, one of those signals he gives is blitzes and stunts. Right there, Montgomery came completely clean off a stunt. Nice call, nice execution by the Oilers defense, and the Rams have put themselves in a 3rd and long again. And that defensive coordinator, Buddy Ryan, across the field is the last guy you want to get into a noisy situation, having to gain a lot of yards.
Under 3 minutes to go, 3rd quarter, 3rd and 9. Everett gets it away, and what an effort by Anderson to shake the first tackler and pick up the first down at the 24, 18 yards. Anderson could have been and should have been caught short of the first.
Watch this. What a fantastic play by Jim Everett. Big blitz. Wilbur Marshall's coming. He hits Jim Everett. Everett stays there till the last second. Watch the stunts and the blitzes. Everything's happening in front of Everett. He takes the hit. He hits Anderson in stride. That's 2 3rd and longs in a row. 1 3rd and 13, 1 3rd and 9. The Rams have converted.
Anderson broke away from Marcus Robertson. So first down for the Rams. Here's Bettis plowing for about a yard, 1 yard, maybe 2. Montgomery on the tackle again.
This is a great answer by this Los Angeles Rams offense to that big play of the Houston Oilers. They're just taking it, and much in the style they saw last week when they faced the New York Giants. They're just methodically moving it down the field, and when they get into situations where they have to have plays, right now Jim Everett's making it.
Minute 30 remaining in the 3rd quarter. 14-13 Rams. Gary is back into the backfield. 2nd and 8. They fake. They throw wide open. Wide open. McNeil with the touchdown.
Well, you're seeing less pom-poms and less beach balls out here right now because the Rams just took them apart. Everything goes this way. Everett goes here, flips back, and watch him, McNeil, come across the defense and go for the touchdown. Watch this. Good fake. Who's going to cover 82? Hey, Buddy, you got him? Buddy Ryan needed to run across about 80 yards of field to knock him down. He was the closest guy who could have had a shot at him.
He's probably ready to now after watching his defense yield another touchdown. For McNeil, his 2nd career touchdown in 5 years. His first came at Seattle when he played for Chuck Knox at the Seahawks. Jim Everett throwing his 2nd touchdown of the game. He's over 250 yards, 257. And Buddy Ryan's defense couldn't stop him. A couple of big 3rd down plays by the Rams on that series.
That wasn't a game-winning drive, but it just may prove to be. Last week in San Diego, Buddy Ryan's defense had to stop the Chargers, and the Chargers drove right down and kicked the winning field goal. And after that big play by the Houston offense, once again, Houston's defense had a great opportunity to slam the door, I think, on the Rams and open things up for their offense.
Drury from a yard out. From a yard deep, he drops it and falls on it at the 13. Not the way you want to start a series, down 8 from the 13. And here's the lineup tonight on CBS. Begins with 60 Minutes. A riddle. A woman is found dead. The police take no fingerprints. Don't even follow up on promising leads. How come? 60 Minutes with the story tonight. That's followed by Murder, She Wrote. And then Sleeping with the Enemy. Julia Roberts is a desperate woman attempting to escape an abusive husband. That's all tonight on CBS. White cutting back for only a yard. Houston with its worst starting field position of this game. Roman Pfeiffer brought down White on that play. We're in the final minute of the 3rd quarter.
And this Houston Oilers offense, Warren Moon's got to keep doing what he's done so far in this half, and that's try to move the ball down the field and stretch things out on the Rams. The Rams have done a very effective job of putting pressure on Moon with 4 defensive linemen and dropping 7 defenders. Warren Moon has got to stretch those 7 defenders out and look for a break when he got last time with Jeffries.
2nd and 8. Moon sacked again for the 4th time. It's Sean Gilbert.
Gilbert had him by a sock and a shoestring and just wouldn't let go, and Boone had no choice, but a great job. I talked about those 7 guys in the defensive backfield. The Rams got good pressure on Moon, but that play was made by the coverage of Los Angeles defense.
That's for Gilbert, his 2nd sack of the day. 3rd down and 13. And the Oilers will have to try to come back from 8 down in the final quarter, because that's the end of the 3rd with the score, the Rams 21, the Oilers 13. Our coverage will continue after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. The Rams and the Oilers, each team 1-2 on the season. And Randy Cross, before this game started, you said this was a critical, urgent situation for the Oilers to win this game. Now they must come back from 8 down.
For a lot of reasons. I think there's so much conflict. You know, offense blaming defense, defense blaming offense, the kind of comments buddies come up with, what's the deal with the quarterback? And then you throw into the mix, you know, is Jack Pardee's job in jeopardy if the Oilers lose going into a bye week?
3rd and 11. Boone going way downfield, and he's picked off at the 50. It's Pat Terrell.
That's not even close but no cigar, Warren. That's close but no cigar wrapper. I mean, you don't even get inside of that one. That was just a very bad pass by Warren Moon. Protection is great. Warren Moon's not being pressured. He's just trying to throw a 70-yard pass with a 55-yard arm on that one. That ball just wouldn't go far enough for him.
It's a little consolation, but it was a 3rd and 13 or 3rd and 11 play from the 13, and a 38-yard exchange over to the Rams, so it's kind of like a mediocre punt.
By the same token, Jim, the Rams were faced with 3rd and 13 on their last possession.
And they
converted it with a high percentage crossing pattern, not a bomb that was.
Yeah, they have been sharp on 3rd down today. Here, Bettis on 1st down picks up a couple. And Eddie Robinson of the Oilers letting out some frustration.
This is a situation where I think Everett and the Rams can really almost put Houston into a near panic mode, where if they put them down by additional points here, Warren Moon's going to have to start pressing. Buddy Ryan's going to have to start taking chances. And I think Jim Everett, the way he's playing today, can take advantage when he sees Ryan trying to take a shot at him.
2nd and 7. Pass to Anderson. Did he catch it? No, he was out of bounds. He caught it, but feet came down on the line. He's having a good day, Flipper Anderson.
Watch the very end of this. Just a little high, a little overthrown. You saw the left foot dot down, but the right foot come out of bounds. And no blitz, 4 linemen. And that's a late hit. I guess you'd call that a quarterback knockdown or a quarterback hurry, but that isn't what I would refer to as extreme pressure on Everett. John Jones and his defensive line, if they're not going to blitz more, those big guys have to take control.
Houston needs the ball back. 3rd and 7. Everett throwing on the run. Open receiver. It's Ellard, and he breaks away. Touchdown, Rams.
Got a penalty flag down on the field back in the area of a hit on the quarterback, Jim Everett, because Everett did take a good shot.
We have a personal foul for roughing the passer on number 59 of the defense. The touchdown is good. We'll assess the penalty on the kickoff.
And there's a happy quarterback. He has done everything in his power. Evading the blitz, getting things to Ellard. Now that is just horrific tackling. You're down by 8 points. The emphasis is on getting an offense stopped, and they can't even tackle. And there's Bowden taking a little shot at Everett. The shot part of it is when you put your shoulder pad, hands, or helmet up above the shoulders of the quarterback when you knock him down. That is the unnecessary roughness.
Broke away from Robertson and McDowell, and the extra point, important one, makes it a 15-point difference. There is a flag, however, on that extra point try. By the way, that touchdown puts Everett over 300 yards.
Holding number 53 of the kicking team, 10-yard penalty, will retry the extra point.
Oh, now it's a field goal.
It's an important extra point, though. I mean, if you miss it, you kind of keep the Oilers, you know, with a little bit of hope, albeit faint hope, because you'd be 14 down.
Exactly. Yeah. They're within 2 touchdowns. But I still think it puts Jack Pardee, Buddy Ryan, Kevin Gilbride, and more importantly, Warren Moon in a situation where they're going to have to start taking chances. They're going to have to start trying to make things happen. I think the Houston Oilers are in a world of hurt right now without some quick, big plays.
Here's the extra point. 30-yard extra point try, and it's good. 28-13. Everett becomes the first quarterback to throw for 300 yards against Houston in 31 regular season games.
For those of you young, aspiring defensive players, don't copy any of this. McDowell and Robertson do not wrap up, do not get into the legs, do not come close to knocking Henry Ellard down, and Henry Ellard's off-season strength and conditioning boost he got from Mike Powell's track coach, or Mike Powell's field coach, really showed on that case. He has got the extra strength, he's got the speed, and just, gee, how do you put this? How would you say terrible defense? Well, let's just say terrible defense. That was really a bad play.
How about an Oiler bust today on defense? Ellard went over 9,000 yards on his career in receiving yardage today. 13th player to do so. All-time receiver and receiving yard player for the Rams in their history. Today, 6 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown.
Look at those wide receivers on the bench there. Every guy's got a story. Look at this. I was open, I was going to break. Yeah, but you didn't have the ball. It didn't matter, but I was going to go.
With the penalty, the roughing the quarterback being walked off on the kickoff, Zendejas able to drive it right out of the end zone. Again, the 49ers and Saints are coming up next. 49ers have won 9 straight inside of the NFC West. The last loss in the division was to the Saints back in '91. It's coming up next right here.
I could be a little prejudiced in that, but I happen to believe you never bury the San Francisco 49ers with the strength of that organization. And having played there, I learned that real quick, but I think this is a severe test for the 49ers, and the odds are very high they're going to beat this Saints team. They're not going to beat the Saints team, I believe.
Moon going long. Jeffrey's open, and was stripped away by Carroll. Boy, for a moment there, I thought that could be a quick 6.
And we talked about the quick, big plays they needed to have, and Warren Moon responds immediately. Unfortunately for the Oilers, Pat Terrell, look at that. Jeffries today does not seem to get a quick, complete grip on the ball. The ball seemed to be a little loose when Terrell came in there after he'd already about caught the ball. But it was a nice defensive play.
13.5 minutes remaining in this game. 28-13, Rams. 2nd and 10. There's Gibbons. And he's near the first down yardage, maybe a little shy. He's about a yard shy of the first.
This is a yardage situation. It always interests me when I'm watching the run and shoot. It seems 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 is a very easy down for these offenses to convert. With your receivers and the way they can get out into the defensive backfield in quick gaps, these run and shoot teams convert a lot of these. If they do that, how come they don't score like that down by the end zone? It's not like it's a shorter field. You're only looking for 2 yards.
There's your first down. 3rd and 1. The only thing I can think of is that for the defense, it's a much more compact area.
Well, like I said, it's compact, Jim, but if you're moving at 6 feet, you're still moving at 6 feet. I guess I'm an ex-lineman. I'm a little simplistic at times, but to me, 6 feet is 6 feet. I don't care if it's in the dugout, during a baseball game, in the tunnel, on the field.
So that's a first down for the Oilers. From their 33, they'll go to the shotgun. White. For about 10. John Gilbert again ran down the ball carrier from behind.
And that was a nice job by Warren Moon dumping that thing off, because the 7 defenders in the backfield of the Rams had run well off. The 4 defensive linemen couldn't get close enough to Warren. By dumping it off to Lorenzo White, he gives his running back 15 to 20 yards of room.
Second and really just inches for the Oilers. White picks up the first. Out to the 47. Lorenzo White, the only running back at Houston with a rushing attempt on this season. There's a rushing offense ranked 26th in the league coming into this one, and not improving that much today. Maybe a little bit. 16 carries, 70 yards for Lorenzo.
Runs are fine, but Warren Moon has to put this ball down the field.
First down play with a flag on the field. White with another pass of a short variety for 5.
Yeah, the Rams and George Dyer, their defensive coordinator, would give the Oilers short ones all day long and let them eat up the clock.
Illegal formation. Number 77 of the offense was lined up in the backfield. 5 yards, still first down.
Their offensive tackle is a frustrated running back.
Kevin Donnelly saying, hey, you guys are going to dump it off and throw those short passes.
Hey, give me the ball.
Yeah, send one my way.
You have to cut those gloves off.
Clock is running, and the Oilers don't appear to be in any hurry. Down 15.
Down to 15 seconds. That's not anything to worry about.
But from a game clock situation, 10:40. First and 15. Was there on one hop to Ernest Gibbons. Incomplete.
The natives are getting restless. Remember that long pass to Jeffries, and the wave and the pom-poms were out, and the little "we're number one" fingers were out in the stands? Well, they're sitting on all the "we're number one" things, and well, there's a banner. At least there's one little banner up, but where are the pom-poms? I mean, there's 2 banners. This crowd, the natives are getting restless. They are not real happy.
This is where we saw a "we're number one" sign or finger from a fan back on Monday Night Football decades ago, two decades ago. Moon dumps it off to Jets. White still on his feet. And gets to the 48 of the Rams.
What a marvelous play by Warren Moon. There's not a lot of quarterbacks in the league that can make this play. Look at the pressure. Look at Newman right in his face, jumping, and he just dumps that ball off in time to Lorenzo.
So it's 3rd down. 3rd and 6. Clock has now moved to under 10 minutes remaining. Batted down, defensive Jim by Robert Bailey.
So far in this possession, Houston's been fairly conservative when they've taken chances, and when they've gone down the field, great responses by the defenders. First it was Pat Terrell, there it's Bailey, knocking these balls away.
Houston will go for it on 4th and 6 with only 9:47 remaining.
We need 3 scores to win. This is not a bad move. They have got to have a first down because they need points right now.
for the Oilers. Gibbons cut to the inside. And Bailey, who knocked it down on third down, almost got an interception on fourth. What happened there, Randy?
Just an example there. Warren Moon tried to make something happen. He had a receiver in Lorenzo White, 44, wide open for a first down. He pressed, he missed it. They're in deep trouble.
Yeah, this is nice. Like the
Rams, big underdogs coming in today, leading by 15.
Pettis to the Houston 40. That's a 12-yard play.
And you know why the Rams are leading by 15 and why they're having such a good day? This is called really overstating the obvious. That's why they're having a good day. Jim Everett is having a fantastic day to answer a lot of critics that don't feel he belongs in the pocket for the Rams. Stood back there, felt the rush, shuffled those feet a little bit, completed another pass. This has got to be one of the finest games I've seen Jim Everett play. He's had some great games against the Saints in the past and great games in general, but I've never seen him play this well personally.
First down to Bettis. Then he advanced it another couple of yards. You know, during the week, Buddy Ryan, in an interview with a Los Angeles reporter, was asked about going against Jim Everett, and he says, Jim looks like he always does to me. He's got a big arm and nervous feet.
Well, if you're getting pressure on Jim Everett, as in most quarterbacks, their feet get nervous. And Jim Everett, like we mentioned on the NFL Today, you know, and Terry Bradshaw said several times, if you intimidate Jim Everett, you've got a real advantage over the Los Angeles Rams. But, you know, Buddy will admit, if you don't get near him, that won't intimidate anybody. I mean, heck, I could play quarterback with the protection he's making.
2nd and 7. And Gary squirts for about 2.
Of course, if I was playing quarterback, it'd be the Houston Veer or the Wishbone or something that didn't necessitate a whole lot of movement.
It could be a goal line offense all the way down the field. That's what it'd be. $7:50 remaining. Rams face 3rd and 4.
The Rams have 2 goals right here. Naturally, they want to drive down the field, get some points out of this, and within 5 yards, they're in Zendejas' field goal range. But they also want to take time off the clock, keep the guys with the ball inbound.
Another quarterback draw in the making. But Joe Bowden came in to drop the quarterback.
Well, there's an old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And that was not a fool me twice for the Houston defense. They were stuffing that thing up, and Everett, to his credit, put his head down and went after it.
That counts as a rush, not a sack, so Everett still has not been sacked today. McJulian punted for the Packers back in '91, and the Rams just found him in the CFL, the Canadian Football League, this month, playing for the Sacramento Gold Miners. We'll try to pin the Oilers back inside of the 10. Kick hits at the 5. Not the kind of bounce he was hoping for. Houston will have it at the 20 when we come back. 6:51 remaining. All Rams, 28-13.
I'll look behind.
In Houston, Warren Moon went out to the offensive huddle to start this next series, and they booed him.
They'd boo anybody right now that's even associated with the Oilers. I think the Oilers have put on a very uninspired and so far very flat performance, and boos are well warranted and probably not in enough quantity at the moment.
Did you say well warranted as in Warren Moon?
No, I think we did.
Here he goes, long to Gibbons. And Gibbons had a step on Terrell.
And those are the kind of plays we talked about that put you in the desperation mode. You have to start trying to make those things happen, and you know those go down into the 10th percentile or less as far as chances of happening in this situation. When the defensive backs are going backwards, you have 2 deep safeties. That's just not going to work.
Have people started to figure out how to defend the run and shoot, you think?
I'm not a huge run and shoot fan personally. I think it's a hell of a second and third down offense, but I can't say much for it on first down and other downs. I really am not a fan of it. I think you need tight ends to compete in the NFL.
Second and 10. There's a completion, a getaway by Reggie Brown. First-year player from Alabama State, his first NFL catch. Broke away from Robert Bailey. 26 yards.
Well, not only his first NFL reception, first NFL hit. Listen to this. That sounds like something should be broken when they make contact like that.
26-yard pass play by the Oilers. And Lorenzo White, about 2. Fans are unhappy with that call.
And the 20-odd thousand offensive coordinators left in this stadium don't think much of that draw call here, down by this many points with 6 minutes to go in the game.
It'll be second and 8.
One thing that does differentiate this offense, though, is it has the ability to score quickly. It can make up points in a short period of time. But not when your quarterback's throwing passes like that.
Usually when Moon has had an off week like he did against San Diego, throwing 4 interceptions, he's come back really big the following game. In fact, Kevin Gilbride, their offensive coordinator, said he doesn't come back with his best statistical game of the season, and it's certainly one of his guttiest performances of the year.
Well, you'd have to rate it as gutty, because statistically it's not to 15 of 35 so far completion.
Third and 8. First down, Slaughter cuts it back, and he's at the Rams 34, 18 yards on that play.
Nice job by Haywood Jeffries of running a little interference. It's a fairly basic pattern. Inside receiver here, number 89, Webster Slaughter, pushes off on Israel. Now watch, look at Jeffries. Got 1, got 2. Kind of a cheerleader back there, but he did get a couple blocks.
From under center, first down. Moon dropped back. Back to Slaughter. He advances it to the 14. Houston in the hurry-up mode. 5 minutes remaining. Down by 15.
Remember, this offense can score quickly. If they do score, you got to think, what can Buddy Ryan and this defense do to get the ball back to this offense just quickly when it's in this kind of a mode, clicking and operating?
From the 14. Clock running, 4:45 to go. Jump.
Little encroaching. I always thought that call sounded like something your grandmother did in a rocking chair. You know, knit 1, curl 2. Isn't that encroaching?
Encroaching? It sounds like there's something you bring out pesticide for down here in this hot humidity.
Encroachment on the defense. 5 yards. Still first down.
We need some quick magic here. A quick 7 points by the Houston Oilers. Ernest Gibbons, in the past, as a slot receiver, would be the featured guy in this type of a situation, but I think you got to look at a guy like a Haywood Jeffries.
From the 9, first and 5. He's looking at Jeffries. He throws it through the end zone, almost picked by Todd Light.
And Jeffries appeared to read the coverage. They wanted to throw some form of a high fade to Jeffries in the corner of the end zone. Jeffries read the coverage with the safety adjusting over, and he stopped down for the ball, and Moon throws it over his head. Watch, he's got the coverage right there by Todd Light. The safety's inside right of the screen where you can't see him. He knows he can't get up high, and Moon just throws that away.
Second and 5. 4:36 remaining. Rollout. And that's really Drury. His first
but only for about 2 yards.
This is not a field goal possession. So this is a few more downs to get their 7 points.
3rd and 2. White going to the first down. I'm not sure he made it. Nope, 4th down. Anthony Newman got him.
4th and short. Now you got to go into the end zone. I don't think they can run the chance of this physical defensive line of the Rams stuffing them up right now and sealing this win. I think Warren has got to throw the ball.
So 4th and under a yard to go. Lorenzo White didn't get it. The Rams defense answers. Sean Gilbert comes out with the earthquake dance.
There's no other way to describe this than a completely embarrassing situation for the Houston Oilers. A team in the Rams they should have beaten, but this defense of the Rams comes up at the right times. Watch the penetration. Gilbert, what a play. What a play. Down low, breaks right through Norgard, and here it comes.
Did you feel the tremble after the earthquake dance? Oilers today 3 times inside of the 20, 2 field goals and 1 loss of down. We'll just use the clock with Jerome Bettis getting the carry.
I guess 3rd and short, 4th and short, you say percentages, run the ball one of those downs. I do not think you run the ball both of those downs. I think you've got to put the ball in the air against a defensive line that in the middle has been really stuffing you. You're playing with danger. Obviously, you're playing with danger. You've got a young guy in Gilbert, gets the penetration and completely snuffs out Jack Pardee's hopes right now of getting a win this week. And they're now going into the bye week 1-3 and staring at some little team up in upstate New York. It was Buffalo Bills, I believe, they have next. So I know they have a score to settle with Buffalo, but I don't think this is a team in any condition to settle anything with anybody. If they can't beat the Rams, they can't beat the Bills.
Well, you know, the other thing about being in the AFC Central, too, for the Oilers, is they're about to drop to 1-3. The Browns are winning their game 10-9 against Indianapolis. And if the Browns win, they'll be a perfect 4-0. To be 3 games down this quickly is something that no one would have forecast.
There's a lot of skepticism here in Houston. I mean, naturally, this game was not televised in Houston. They couldn't sell out the Astrodome, which is not a big stadium. It's not a positive situation, I think, for Jack Pardee and their owner, Bud Adams.
7.5 minutes left in that game with the Browns leading by 1. Here's 2nd and 8. That is for 2. And a timeout called.
Houston blows one off here on the way to the 2-minute warning, 3:10. They don't have much of a choice. They have got to stop the clock. They got to cling to whatever hope that they can block a punt for a touchdown, that they can get a fumble, that they can make something happen. If it's going to happen, it better happen now.
Well, the Oilers have 1 timeout remaining. And we want to remind you that next it's the 49ers against the Saints.
You want a game with a little crowd noise. When those two teams get together in the dome down there, the Superdome, that's the only place I've ever played where I felt sound. Standing on the field, the crowd going crazy, you could actually physically feel it on your jersey and on your arms, the sound.
Reverberation.
Yeah, I don't use those big words quite like that, but it was bouncing off me pretty good.
3:10 to go, 3rd and 6. Dennis has stopped about a yard shy of the first. Ray Childress had the hit on Bettis.
You got to think the Rams right now are in maximum protection mode from a kicking standpoint, because Houston could put 1 guy back and just put 10 guys on the line of scrimmage go after the kicker. His first game as a Ram punter, but McJulian's going to get plenty of heat right here. They're bringing a tight formation on the right side. They'll be surprised if the left gunner goes down too.
The first series, by the way, where the Rams were 3 downs and out. Julian, most of the time today, has been trying to pooch punt. Now he can really let one go. Pretty good one, too. Drury back at the 35 and dives to the 41. 50-yard punt. 6-yard run back. 2:13 remaining. Warren Moon will be staying in the game at quarterback.
And now's when you look at the defensive backfield, you'll see defensive backs 25 to 30 yards downfield, I think, by the time the ball is snapped. The Rams will give the Oilers almost everything in front of them. They'll rush with 4, and they're just going to clog up all the passing lanes.
Intercepted by Bailey. Robert Bailey on the run back. And a good run back by the former Miami Hurricane. He takes it to the 44 and brings us to the 2-minute warning. A 47-yard run back.
Warren Moon just looked like, how could I throw that? What was I thinking? I don't know. I think you're 1 and 3.
How about the Rams, Randy, on their way to being 2 and 2, with 3 of their first 4 games coming on the road, and they're heading home to play the Saints next week.
It looks like a bunch of guys doing the bunny hop with everybody slapping each other on the back. I mean, there's Chuck Knox, there's George Dyer, the defensive coordinator. There's all sorts of people. Jim Everett, everybody's in line for a little bit of a congratulations on the LA Rams team. It's a fantastic job by its entire organization.
Couple of more snaps, and they can.
In just a few minutes, we will be leaving this game in order to bring you coverage of the 49ers New Orleans Saints game. We make this switch in order to satisfy our contract with the National Football League. Once we've joined your second game, the NFL Today will keep you fully up to date on the final moments of this game.
What kind of message does this send to Atlanta, San Francisco, and New Orleans out in the NFC West?
Well, I think the people you're looking at sending messages to are San Francisco, New Orleans, and not Atlanta. You know, I don't think Atlanta isn't going to be much into the mix in the NFC West, but this definitely sends a message to the 49ers. It sends a message to the to the Saints. It says the Rams can play. The problem with the Rams is you've got to look at them and say, well, which Rams team is the one you want to face? You want to face the one that Week 1 loses by 30 to Green Bay. Week 2 beats Pittsburgh by 27. Week 3 loses to the Giants by 10. And now Week 4 is up by 15 to Houston. They're very much the typical young, inexperienced team that's going peak and valley.
All 7s across the board, though, today. In each quarter, they scored a touchdown. You're talking about those peaks and valleys. That's a Ram pattern that really mirrors 1992. Last year, they were blown out on the road in their opener. Had a shutout win in their second game at home, as they did this year. Third game had a double-digit loss on the road, like they did against the Giants. And last year, they won Week 4 against an AFC team, the Jets. This time, the Oilers.
I think this is a team that's gotten in a situation where if you look at those young guys right there on the bench, that's the defensive line. This team will have a good defense. This team will win as well as the Rams offense plays. If they can do that, if the Ram offense plays effectively, if the Rams offense plays average, that defense will keep them in ball games. Well, not only that, I mean, you get 3 penalties in a ball game, you have no turnovers, you have no sacks. I mean, that is the way you want to do it. And that's the last way I think a team like Houston expects an opponent to play when they come into this former house of pain.
Oh.
It's more of a house of pain now for the Oilers than it is for the Rams. And at this point, at 1-3, Wilbur's got to be saying, well, the checks keep clearing. I did make a lot of money. What did I step in? It's going to be a long 2-week period between now and that next game with the bye coming up in Buffalo in 2 weeks. So a lot of critics can come out and a lot of things can happen in 2 weeks for a football team.
Nick Julian, 50 yards on his last punt. Drury from the 17. Head out to the 23. 17-16 seconds to go. And Cleveland now trails the Colts with 4 minutes to go. Indianapolis with a touchdown to take the lead.
Well, it looks like another one of those years in the AFC East. Teams are going to be up and down, and you might have 3 teams at 9-7 when this thing's all over.
There's a pass play to Lachey Maston, rookie from Baylor. And what a story he was in training camp. A 3-year All-Southwest Conference linebacker at Baylor. Came to the camp as a free agent. Played him in the preseason at linebacker, running back, safety. Did a little bit of everything. Intercepted passes, ran the football.
It's one of those things where your first inclination is to say,